The space station, Calith, hung like a steel monolith against the starry void, its engines roaring as battle beasts howled in neural agony. I, Admiral Varen, watched from the command deck. My heart clenched. Protocol demanded cruelty, pain to command these beasts. Yet today a human recruit dared defy everything. His name was Jax, a green recruit from Earth. While others wore neural shackles to control their beasts through torment, Jax approached the arena with calm, eyes steady, hands empty. The crowd sneered, betting on his swift failure. Even the harshest trainers whispered, "This will end in blood." But when Jax locked eyes with the savage Brakan, a creature bred for destruction and pain, something shifted. No chains, no shocks, only quiet respect. The void burned with anticipation, and I whispered, "This is madness, or genius." Jax stood alone in the arena's glare, the neural collar on Brakan crackling with electricity. Around them, spectators watched through reinforced glass, the hum of pain devices filling the chamber. Brakan roared, a storm of fire and steel embodied in beast form. The collar screamed, but Jax did not flinch. "Submit the beast!" barked the lead trainer, his voice slicing through the tension. Jax shook his head. "No, you cannot break respect with pain." The creature's muscles twitched violently, yet Jax stepped closer, voice low and steady. "I see you. I hear you." A murmur rippled through the crowd. The beast snarled, claws scraping metal, but hesitation flickered in its eyes. For the first time, the neural collar's electric jolts faltered. Jax extended a hand, his fingers trembling with courage. "Trust, Brakan. Trust is stronger than chains." The arena held its breath. As the neural device surged again, Brakan lunged, teeth bared. Jax dodged with instinct born of Earth's wilds, moving not with fear, but with a strange, fluid grace. "Easy," he whispered. "Fight the pain, not me." Around them, whispers grew louder. Defiance or folly? The beast hesitated mid-leap, muscles tense like a coiled storm. Jax's voice cut through the static. "You're more than a weapon. You're a soul." The neural collar sparked and hissed, but Brakan's snarls softened into low growls of confusion. The impossible was happening. I clenched my fists, watching history bend before my eyes. Jax, the reckless human, was not breaking the beast with pain. He was breaking the system. And the station's cold heart began to beat differently. Minutes stretched like hours as Jax and Brakan circled, a dance of predator and protector rewriting old laws. No longer adversaries, they moved in sync. Every twitch, every breath a silent promise. The crowd's jeers turned to stunned silence. Something primal was unfolding. Jax reached out again, brushing a scarred snout with a trembling hand. Brakan lowered his massive head, muscles relaxing for the first time since capture. "We'll face the void together," Jax murmured, "not as master and slave, but as partners." The neural collar crackled, powerless against this new bond. I exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of centuries of brutality lift from that chamber. If this bond could survive here, on Calith, where pain reigned supreme, it might just change the course of the coming war. The station trembled as distant alarms shattered the fragile calm. Reports flooded in, an enemy fleet emerging from the dark, engines roaring like the beasts in the arena. The war we had ignored was no longer a shadow, it was at our doorstep. I summoned Jax to the command deck. "Your beast, your bond, may be our salvation," I told him. The old guard resisted, but I saw something in Jax's eyes, a defiant spark that no neural device could extinguish. "Trust is a weapon, Admiral. We'll show them what that means." As the void burned with approaching firestorms, the station braced for chaos. Legends are born in battle, and I sensed the beginning of one that would echo across the stars. Man and beast united against the coming storm. Brakan stood on the outer platform, gazing into the star-slick void. He growled, not in aggression, but in alarm. Jax stepped beside him, hand resting on coarse fur. "You sense them, don't you?" he whispered. The beast's ears twitched. Something wicked was coming. Something old. Scanners lit up. Ghost signals, fragmented pulses like echoes of broken fleets. Ships from the ancient war, erased from all records, now resurfacing. "Dead empires don't send navies," I muttered, but the data screamed truth. Someone had awakened the forgotten destroyers. Jax crouched before Brakan. "You remember their scent, don't you? The ones who hurt your kind." The beast's chest rumbled, vibrating the deck beneath them. "Then help me stop them." With a final roar, Brakan announced his allegiance, not to the station, but to Jax. The High Council gathered in a cold chamber laced with flickering holograms. "The human must be removed," hissed General Ratoon. "His methods unravel our control." I stood alone in defense. "What he's done may save us." They laughed, politely, dangerously. "Battle beasts are not companions," Ratoon growled. "They're weapons." Footage of Jax and Brakan flashed across the walls. No collar, no violence, only trust. "His method invites rebellion." The council voted. If Jax failed once, even slightly, termination orders would follow. I returned to Jax with shadows clinging to my shoulders. "They want proof, now," I told him, "or they'll erase you and the beast." He didn't flinch. "Then we give them a show they'll never forget." Brakan's eyes glinted with warlight. Jax was ordered into the Crucible, a lethal trial where beasts fought automated war machines. "It's a trap," I warned, but he smiled. "It's our stage." The gates opened. Brakan stepped forward, armor fitted, eyes focused. A storm of fire and steel awaited. The drones descended, razor wings and plasma teeth. Brakan leaped, not like a slave obeying pain, but a warrior choosing war. Jax ran beside him, dodging debris, issuing no commands. They moved as one, every breath, every strike in perfect unison. Flames lit the arena. Explosions painted the sky. When the smoke cleared, the drones lay shattered, and Jax still stood. Brakan stood over him, protective, proud. The crowd was silent. The council was silent. History had just changed before their eyes. In the aftermath, Brakan paced restlessly. Jax knelt, pressing a palm to the cold deck. "He hears something," he said. I activated deep space channels, frequencies long abandoned. What came through wasn't language, it was calling, rhythmic, feral, like a summons to beasts. Ancient frequencies pulsed through the neural network, waking slumbering creatures in cryopods, underground pens, and forgotten vaults. They responded not to the station, but to Brakan. "He's becoming more than a beast," I whispered. "He's becoming a leader." Jax watched as the beasts began growling in unison. "It's spreading," he murmured. "Freedom, memory, rage." If the enemy was coming with monsters, we had just found ours, and they had a new alpha. The sky cracked open as enemy warships descended, engines roaring like ancient gods. The void burned with crimson light. Sirens blared across Calith. I barked orders, but we were unready. Our weapons were outdated. Our beasts are unchained and unpredictable. Jax rode Brakan to the front lines. "Let me lead the vanguard," he said, fire in his voice. I hesitated, then nodded. "Make them regret returning." Around them, other beasts stirred, following Brakan's howl. For the first time, they chose to fight. As the first enemy salvo struck the outer hull, our beasts charged. Not because they were forced, but because they believed. Jax and Brakan led the storm. And in that moment, the galaxy remembered something it had long forgotten: humans don't tame monsters. They inspire them. Enemy ships tore through our outer perimeter, deploying biomech horrors. Creatures fused with shipwrecked steel and synthetic nerves. They didn't howl like beasts. They screamed like the dead. "These aren't war machines," Jax muttered from Bracken's back. "They're enslaved souls." Bracken's fury ignited. He tackled a biowalker mid-stride, ripping through corrupted bone and plasma veins. Other beasts followed suit, guided not by shackles but by Bracken's rising rage. We hadn't armed a vanguard, we'd unleashed a revolution. I ordered a full push. "Ride with the beasts! Follow their lead!" Jax and Brakan vanished into the wreckage, carving through metal like a legend. And somewhere deep in the void, the enemy hesitated for the first time. In the aftermath, engineers brought me a shattered neural collar, one torn from an enemy creature. It hummed weakly with dark code, etched in runes not seen in any council records. "Where did they get this tech?" I asked. The silence answered. Jax examined the fragments. "This isn't foreign," he said quietly. "It's ours. A prototype the council abandoned decades ago, one designed to merge brainwaves with synthetic command." My blood ran cold. "You mean we built the first enslaver?" "The enemy learned from us," Jax said bitterly. "We gave them the tools, and they perfected the cruelty." Brakan growled low as if understanding the betrayal. The war wasn't just about territory. It was about atonement. I ordered covert scans of our systems. What we found was worse than sabotage. Ancient council software, buried, blacklisted, had begun activating neural signals in deep storage. Old collars sparked to life. Beasts across the station screamed in agony. Jax raced through the lower decks with Brakan, disabling collars manually. These signals, they're waking sleeper codes, trying to reclaim the beasts by force. One massive hound turned on its keeper, its mind fractured between past and present. Jax leaped in, hands glowing with override gear. He freed the beast, without pain. It limped to Brakan, submitting. "Everyone we save weakens their grip," Jax said. I watched, realization burning in my chest. Jax wasn't just a soldier. He was a counter-virus, and Brakan was becoming a legend. A transmission pierced the silence, unmarked, untraceable. It wasn't coded in words, but emotion, fury, hunger, sorrow. Brakan stiffened, eyes glowing faintly. "He understands it," Jax whispered. "They're speaking to him, trying to summon him." The message pulsed again. Visions of dark worlds, cages beneath starless skies. Brakan stepped back, visibly shaken. Jax held his head, whispering grounding words. "You're free now. You chose your path." The transmission ended, but a location burned into the deck display. Vron 6. "We follow it," Jax said. "Whatever's calling him, it's tied to the enemy." I approved the scout jump, but unease churned in my core. If Brakan was their lost king, what would happen when he reached the source? Vron 6 was a graveyard. Orbiting a dead sun, its crust was torn open by ancient war. We descended into ash-filled skies where twisted temples of steel and bone rose from the dust. Brakan growled, not in fear, but in memory. Inside the ruins, carvings showed beasts in chains, worshipped, tortured, deified. "This was where they were created," Jax murmured. "Not bred, built." Brakan stood before a shattered statue of his likeness, then raised his head and howled. The sound echoed through space. Lights awakened in the ruins. Deep beneath, machines stirred. "They know we're here," I said over comms. "They're coming." But Jax didn't flinch. "Let them. Brakan has returned, and this time, he's not theirs." Beneath Vron 6's scorched surface, ancient engines hummed to life. Cold blue light spilled across mechanical bones, sleeping war beasts from a forgotten age. Brakan's eyes glowed brighter, a beacon calling kin lost to time and tyranny. Jax's voice was steady, though tension writhed beneath. If we don't rally them, the enemy will enslave these creatures again. I watched as Brakon paced, muscles coiled like a living weapon, ready to reclaim a legacy stolen from him. We had ignited a spark in the dark, but to fuel a revolution, we needed allies, beasts and humans alike willing to fight chains and cruelty. The war wasn't just survival, it was rebirth. Back on Calith, the Council's old guard grew restless. Saboteurs infiltrated the lower decks, neural collars secretly reactivated, beasts turned into raging assassins. The station trembled under invisible sabotage. I ordered lockdowns and purges, but the damage spread like a virus. Jax and Brakon led desperate countermeasures, fighting not just external enemies, but shadows within our ranks. Trust was becoming as scarce as oxygen. Amidst the chaos, whispers spread. The human and his beast are the station's greatest threat. But I knew the truth. Without them, we were doomed. The High Council fractured. Some called to exile Jax, others to crown him a hero. The war machines churned outside while politics bled the station dry. I stood with Jax, knowing the future balanced on a knife's edge. Trust cannot be dictated, Jax told me in private. It grows in the wild, not in chains. His eyes burned with Earth's fierce hope, a flame the cold council could not snuff. Brakon growled softly as if agreeing. Our bond was no longer defiance, it was destiny. And the enemy would learn that soon. Enemy fleets surged into orbit, ships like living nightmares bristling with weapons and dark energy. Engines roared, and the void burned with firestorms. Calith braced for annihilation. Jax rode Brakon to the front lines, leading an army of awakened beasts. They tore through the enemy's first wave with savage grace, striking faster than lasers and dodging like shadows in the void. I called the fleet to full combat readiness, but in my heart, I knew the war's tide was shifting. The beast and the human fought not as master and slave, but as equals unbreakable. Amid the battle's roar, I received a covert message. Data files stolen from the enemy's flagship. They revealed a horrifying truth. Our neural devices were reverse-engineered to control not just beasts, but sentient minds. The enemy sought to enslave entire species, weaponizing empathy and pain as chains. Brakon's rebellion was a threat to their darkest ambitions. This war is more than survival, I told Jax. It's a fight for freedom itself. He nodded, eyes fierce. Then we'll burn the chains, and the darkness that forged them. The stars shone cold, but in that moment hope blazed brighter than any weapon. A whisper crawled through the ranks. Someone sold secrets to the enemy. Neural collars inexplicably reactivated, causing havoc among our beasts. Jax's trust was tested harder than ever, shadows crawling even where light should dwell. Brakon sensed the traitor's scent, prowling the corridors with a predatory focus. I ordered an internal investigation, but enemies lurked in every shadow, wearing the faces of allies. The station's unity cracked like glass under pressure. Jax confronted his doubters with calm fire. Our strength is not in chains or codes, it's in choice. But the cost of trust could be deadly. Beasts once broken by collars rallied behind Brakon, their war cries echoing through the station's bowels. Jax harnessed this energy, training the newly freed creatures to fight with instinct and respect, not pain. Pain breeds only fear, Jax told a circle of recruits. We fight for freedom, not domination. His words sparked a fire far stronger than the weapons we wielded, inspiring even hardened veterans. The station stirred with rebellion, not against the enemy, but against a legacy of cruelty. A new era was dawning, shaped by an unlikely bond. Scanners picked up a massive fleet gathering near the war-torn system of Valax. Intelligence suggested the enemy planned a crushing strike to retake control of their lost beasts and to annihilate Calith. Jax studied star charts, brow furrowed. If they succeed, every freedom fighter here will die. Braccon's growl reverberated through the deck. The beasts were ready, but would the station hold? I ordered all hands to battle stations. The coming storm would test every bond between humans, beasts, and machines. Enemy ships blotted out stars as they unleashed torrents of plasma and kinetic fury. Calith shook, shields flickered, and fires ignited deep in the hull. The battle beasts roared their defiance. Jax and Braccon led daring sorties, slipping through enemy lines with a lethal combination of brute force and tactical finesse. Each engagement was a dance of chaos and precision. In the midst of destruction, a whisper spread. The human-beast bond is unstoppable. Hope flickered amid the ruins, fragile but fierce. Amid the battle, Jax found a moment to connect with Braccon. "They want to break us," he said softly, "but our strength is in trust, not pain." The beast nudged him, eyes soft but resolute. Through neural resonance, they shared a vision of a future where chains were shattered and all beings fought as equals. This was no longer survival. It was revolution. The station's fate rested on that bond. And as firestorms raged outside, inside, a legend was born, one that would change the galaxy forever. Jax sifted through ancient logs hidden deep within the station's archives. Images flickered beasts once free, living in harmony with alien tribes before the Council's collars corrupted their souls. The truth was buried under layers of silence. Braccon growled softly beside him, sensing the weight of betrayal. "We didn't just lose beasts," Jax murmured. "We lost our way." The past was not just history. It was a warning. With this knowledge, the fight gained new meaning. It was no longer just survival, but a reclamation of honor and freedom stolen by cruelty and fear. Enemy transmissions crackled with cold efficiency, plans to implant neural collars not only on beasts but on human leaders. Total control, total submission. The war was a twisted game of puppetry. Jax's jaw clenched. If they control minds, no one is truly free. Braccon's eyes flared a silent promise to tear down any chains forged by steel or code. I prepared a counterstrike, one that would strike at the enemy's very heart. But victory demanded sacrifice beyond any of us imagined. Casualties mounted. The station's corridors ran red with desperation and resolve. Beasts fought with fury, but exhaustion gnawed at even the strongest. Jax's leadership was tested to the brink. "Hold the line," he roared, standing atop Braccon's broad back amid the storm of fire and steel. Around them, beasts rallied, more than soldiers, now legends embodying the hope of all. But the enemy unleashed a new weapon, neural disruptors that scrambled minds and shattered wills. The fight for freedom turned into a brutal test of endurance. With systems failing and the enemy closing in, Jax and Braccon led a desperate charge into the heart of the flagship. It was do or die, a storm of fire and steel against the cold shadow of control. Neural chains rattled as Braccon tore through corridors lined with twisted machines and enslaved creatures. Jax's hands moved fast, disabling collars and overriding commands. The final battle was not just for the station, but for the soul of every being shackled by fear. Legends were forged in blood and trust. The flagship exploded in a storm of light and debris, and neural control shattered across the void. Silence fell, deep, absolute, then broken by the roar of freed beasts. Jax and Braccon stood among the wreckage, exhausted but unbroken. "We fought not with chains, but with respect," Jax said quietly, and that made all the difference. Across Calith, hope blossomed. The unlikely duo's legend spread proof that even in the darkest void, freedom's flame could never be extinguished. The dust settled over Calith, but the scars remained. Council factions scrambled to reclaim control, some embracing the new order, others clinging to old tyranny. The station was a powder keg. Jax met with alien diplomats, their eyes wary but curious. "Your bond with Brakon is more than legend," one said. "It's a symbol. The galaxy watches and waits." Brakon stood silent but proud, the once feared beast now a guardian of fragile peace. Trust, once broken, was beginning to heal. In the shadowed corners of Calith, whispers grew louder. Freed beasts and humans alike spoke of revolution beyond the station's walls, a galaxy tired of control and cruelty. Jax felt the weight of responsibility shift. No longer just a soldier, he was a symbol, a spark for change. "This is bigger than us," he told Brakon. "We must be ready." The enemy's remnants lurked still, plotting revenge. The war had ended, but the fight for freedom was only beginning. Council elders summoned Jax to a tense assembly. "Your methods defy protocol," one sneered, "but results cannot be denied. We offer you a choice, command or exile." Jax's gaze hardened. "I don't seek power," he replied. "I seek justice. The chains that bind us all must be broken." Brakon growled low, a warning and a promise. The path ahead was uncertain, but it belonged to those brave enough to walk it. Beyond Calith, fleets loyal to the old regime mobilized, fearful of the rebellion's rising tide. Warships darkened star systems, their intent clear: crush the spark before it became a flame. Jax and Brakon prepared for a new battle. One fought in politics, hearts, and the endless black between stars. Allies would be tested, and sacrifices demanded. The legend was no longer a tale. It was a call to arms, echoing through the void. As the first fires of rebellion ignited across neighboring systems, Jax addressed a crowd gathered on Calith's main plaza. "We stand not as conquerors, but as free beings united," Brakon roared, a sound that shook the stars and stirred hope in the hearts of the oppressed. The crowd erupted, their voices rising in a chorus of defiance. The galaxy's future was no longer written in chains, but in courage, respect, and the unbreakable bond of human and beast. Star systems erupted in rebellion, warships igniting in blazing trails across the void. The old regime's grip weakened as oppressed worlds rose, inspired by the legend of a human and his beast. Jax and Brakon led guerrilla strikes, lightning in the darkness, dismantling neural factories and freeing captured minds. Each victory was a beacon, each loss a lesson in resilience. The galaxy's fate hung in the balance, but a storm of fire and steel was gathering, one fueled by freedom's fierce, unyielding flame. Betrayals surfaced. Old allies fractured under pressure, while enemies infiltrated rebel ranks. Jax faced his darkest hour, questioning whether trust could survive the weight of war. Brakon's loyalty never wavered. "We fight as one," Jax whispered amidst battle's chaos. The bond between them became their strongest weapon, a living shield against despair. Even in shadow, hope endured, born of respect, forged in fire, unbroken by fear. A decisive battle loomed over Vron 6, the birthplace of the beast's awakening. Fleets clashed in a symphony of destruction, stars bleeding light as war raged. Jax and Brakon charged into the fray, their alliance a force that shattered neural chains and toppled tyrants. Victory was within reach, but at a cost yet unseen. In the heart of battle, legends walked side by side, human and beast united, rewriting destiny with every strike. As the enemy unleashed a final, desperate weapon, Jax made a choice, one that would change everything. To save the rebellion, he risked everything, offering himself as bait. Brakon's roar shook the cosmos as he fought to protect his human companion, a guardian fierce beyond all reason. Together they defied death, becoming symbols of hope amid devastation. The war's end was not victory alone. It was sacrifice, redemption, and the birth of a new era. The dust of battle settled over a galaxy transformed. Chains broken, minds freed, worlds united under a fragile but unbreakable alliance. Jax and Brakon stood at the forefront, Legends no longer whispered, but lived. "Freedom is more than a word," Jax said. "It's the bond we choose." Beneath alien suns, a new chapter began, one written in trust, courage, and the unyielding spirit of those who dared to defy the darkness. The galaxy breathed in the fragile calm after the war. Star systems rebuilt, scars healing beneath alien skies. Yet beneath the peace, whispers of unrest simmered, old wounds refusing to close. Jax and Bracon traveled the newly freed worlds, ambassadors of hope. Their bond was a beacon, reminding all that trust must be nurtured or it would fade like a dying star. Peace was not an endpoint, but a beginning, a delicate dance on a knife's edge. Reports surfaced of rogue factions seeking to revive the neural collar technology. Their motives are cloaked in secrecy, their power growing in the void between stars. Jax's calm resolve hardened. "The fight is never truly over," he told Bracon. "We must root out these shadows before they grow." The legend was no longer just survival. It was vigilance in the face of endless darkness. Allied races convened on Calith to draft a new galactic charter, one built on mutual respect and freedom. Tensions flared, old rivalries bubbling beneath the surface. Jax's voice rose above the discord. "Unity demands sacrifice and understanding. Let our past be our guide, not our chain." Bracon stood by his side, a living testament that harmony between worlds was possible. Despite the peace, some beasts struggled with their past traumas, flashes of pain from neural scars haunting their instincts. Healing would take more than time. Jax pioneered new therapies, blending Earth empathy with alien biotech, guiding beasts and humans alike toward recovery. Their journey was far from over. True freedom meant healing the mind and soul. Years passed, and stories of Jax and Bracon became legends taught across the stars, a testament to courage, trust, and rebellion against oppression. New generations looked to their example, ready to face unknown threats with the same fierce bond and unbreakable spirit. In the vast cosmic dark, a legacy of light burned bright, a reminder that even the smallest spark can ignite the universe. The rebuilt Calith stood as a monument to resilience, its towering spires shining beneath twin suns. Across the station, diverse species worked side by side, weaving the future from the threads of past struggle. Jax watched quietly, knowing the hardest battles were those fought to maintain peace. "Our greatest challenge is what comes next," he said to Bracon, eyes scanning the horizon. The future was unwritten, but their bond, human and beast, would be its strongest foundation. A new generation of recruits trained under Jax's watchful gaze, learning to honor beasts rather than control them. Stories of trust and empathy replaced cold tactics. Bracon, older but still fierce, mentored the young beasts, his presence a living legend inspiring loyalty and courage. Together, they became guardians not only of Calith but of freedom itself. Beyond known space, a silent menace stirred, an ancient intelligence watching, waiting, and calculating. Its motives were unknown, but its patience was endless. Sensors picked up faint signals. Shadows moved just beyond reach. Jax's instincts prickled. "The galaxy's peace has a price," he warned. The saga was far from over. A new chapter awaited, one darker, deeper, and more perilous. Jax and Bracon embarked on a diplomatic mission to forge alliances with distant civilizations. Each handshake, each shared story, strengthened the fragile web of peace. Their bond transcended language and culture, a universal symbol of unity and diversity. In every corner of the galaxy, the legend grew, a human and his beast, defying darkness through trust. As Calith's twin suns rose, casting golden light across the station, Jax reflected on their journey, how far they'd come, and the road still ahead. "Freedom is a flame we must keep alive," he said softly, "not just for us, but for every soul in the stars." Braccon's low growl echoed in agreement, a promise that the dawn of hope would never fade, an eternal light blazing across the cosmos. The end. Thank you for watching AstroMyths. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more epic sci-fi tales, cosmic mysteries, and mind-bending myths. And if you like this story, or have a myth, mystery, or galaxy you'd like us to explore, drop your ideas in the comments. We're always listening. Until next time, keep your eyes on the stars and your mind open to the unknown.